Hello everybody. Welcome to our Vox mini webinar series about thinking differently in the new tourism dynamic getting ready for post-COVID. I have a great little mini panel as well, and I'd like to introduce them. First of all, our commercial director, Andy Lawrence.
Many thanks, John. And yes, it's great to be here again on these mini webinars. And also what we're doing today is holding a brief Q&A session at the end, or frequently asked questions, I should say, at the end of John's presentation. Lucky enough to have with me today, Francesco.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our mini webinar session. As said, today we will be answering all your most common questions during the past webinar. Let's keep it short. John, over to you.
Thank you, guys. So I'm going to do this in manageable chunks. We'll look at the new tourism dynamic. We'll discuss the way forward. We'll talk about smart applications and how they might fit into the future, and a little bit, of course, on Vox Group with some next steps as well. But we see this window here of the lockdown area of crisis to be an opportunity. In fact, Einstein said, a crisis brings progress to people and nations. Well, we believe that too, and certainly it does so also for forward-thinking organizations in tourism and culture, and it creates many opportunities. First of all, let's consider how people are thinking in the new dynamic. Well, people have long sought a far greater degree of personalization and flexibility during their travels than they had done in the previous 5 years. This has been some years in the making. Post-crisis, though, they're going to be thinking even more carefully about how they travel and what they want from their experiences. They'll seek more personalized encounters with local people. They'll self-impose social distancing and will be more wary of crowds as well in venues and in cities. And they'll have a greater range of new interests that they've picked up during the lockdown. People have really broadened their thinking, and they'll have obtained a huge boost to technical skills. Even older people too. Think about it. They've been using their smartphones and iPads and so on to talk to their grandchildren, to research, to gain knowledge, to entertain themselves, and to get information and news and so on as well. So they're going to be much more ready than they've ever been to embrace digital services during their travels. How is the recovery going to pan out? Well, I know many institutions are working closely with governments on how they can start to open up venues again, and domestic travel undoubtedly is going to be the first opportunity. In all probability, it might start to begin fairly quickly, even during May or June in some countries or destinations. But for the main thrust of international travel, history tells us that once the lockdown is dropped, then cheaper airline deals and accommodation deals will be what kickstarts the market. It happens every time. That's what will happen. And this will be followed by a stronger upturn in FITs and eventually MICE, larger groups, main tourism and so on, which of course eventually is going to be boosted by pent-up demand. So in 2021, we might in the whole year or part of the year see a very strong recovery indeed. There could be wobbles, of course, if COVID breakouts reoccur, but again, FIT travelers are going to be the most resistant and able to resurge more quickly. What challenges do we face? Well, the early market's going to be hyper competitive for every museum, gallery, venue and institution, and market share will be critical. OTAs themselves, who supply many customers and tour operators, are going to find themselves competing on commodity pricing and against suppliers who are selling those same products directly. And venues are going to need to manage crowds very differently, looking at distancing, sanitization, policing and education. And group guiding is going to need rethinking as well. We'll talk about that in terms of spacing, equipment and technology. And margins are likely to be weak as higher markups will be difficult and sales could be further damaged by limited venue opening, restricted time slots and enforced capacity issues. So how can we stay ahead of the competition and win market share? Well, success is going to lie in changing your product mix and your price value proposition, quite likely, to market more effectively. The current lockdown is a window, though, and it's an opportunity, and we've got to use it to plan now. How can we plan to use smart digital services effectively in the new tourism environment? Well, it's about packaging up products with other tourism content. It's not about replacing necessarily. It's about complementing and using smart technology and other products like this to brand and differentiate, to increase margins, to permanently change the game in your favor. And depending on how your venue operates or your institution operates, then basic services such as navigable mapping and tourism information are going to be expected to be digital, frankly, in the future, even by the older generation. Let's face it, paper is dead. The days of handing out paper diagrams and so on, which are hard to read for older people when they can simply scroll and zoom on their own phone, is going to change things forever. And we can look at this and how this technology works because it's already here. You've just got to understand the platform that you're using and be very careful to choose the right one because they're very different. There are web-based apps, there are hybrid apps, and there are native apps, and they all operate very differently with different functionality. So you've got to think very carefully about the right platform, but you've also got to think about the content and the resources that that platform taps into. Many times it can be created specially for you, but if you're using external guiding, for example, there's many reasons not to use apps that have Google Maps. Some of the biggest reasons are control of content, personalization for your venue and for your institution, your business, and also for consumer data, because the only folks getting that data with Google Maps are, of course, those very nice folks over in Mountain View in California. Now, basic apps for guiding can contain information, generalized information and tourist information, while more sophisticated versions of packages can provide multilingual audio guiding of venues, walking routes through your venues, themed routes and so on, and interior visits catered for much more comprehensively, along with sponsorship promotions, linking your venue to the city opportunities and stakeholder functionality combined with e-commerce opportunities, even such as on-selling other opportunities or attractions within your network or services inside your venue. How can we strategize this? Well, the key thing here is thinking differently. It's, as I said, it's not about replacing your products, existing products, it's about complementing them with digital content to transform your proposition, to change your marketing story and your operational promise. These need to synchronize with the new aspirations of preferences of prospects during the all-important dream, plan and execute process, so that customers will be able to envisage how they can better customize their personalized experiences, enabling you to dramatically improve your success rate in target market segments. Let's look specifically at museums, culture, galleries, and so on, and how you can employ it here. One of the big things is simplifying the visit and increasing dwell time so that people feel more engaged with your institution. And there are many factors that are currently or have always been influencing their decision on choice of venue or an institution in a city. Aside from the perceived cost or relative value of a visit, these can include expected opportunities for culture, for escape, for learning, perhaps sometimes for relaxation or fun, and sometimes for prestige, but many more triggers as well. In the new dynamic, however, visitors are also going to be seeking a higher degree of flexibility, personalization, localization, social distancing, and other health and opportunities away from the crowds will need to be part of what you're thinking of. So smart technology that's designed for, provided by and branded as your venue will help guide visitors to realize these preferences. And of course, it's all operating on the user's smartphone, so it's constantly in their possession and will be used frequently day or night, and can add an extra layer of confidence, of freedom, of a feeling of freedom, of personal exploration and knowledge and security that allow you to communicate your messaging with multi-language narrative, not only in your venue, but also in the bigger city environment when they step outside your venue and return to their accommodation for their entire stay. And with digital, you can change exhibits or move and add artifacts at any time. You can create unlimited self-guided routes and themes through your collection. And usage is not restricted by physical equipment or local guides, so you can better deal with peaks and troughs. You can conduct surveys with users during their experiences. You have full control of push notifications and e-commerce, as we said, and you'll improve the cultural visit, increase dwell time. And if you have your own app, as some venues do, then a simple click will allow all of this type of content to be streamed through WebView to enable that content directly on a visitor's own smartphone in your own app. And if you, as I say, add city mapping, then your venue becomes the heart of the visitor experience in your destination. But let's think about how guiding also takes place in a venue. In the past, pre-COVID, it was possible for groups to huddle around their guide amongst all the hubbub of movement in the venue, so their guide can speak directly to them at close quarters. Now, in the future, that's not going to be possible. We'll see venues being obliged to use professional tour guide systems to allow their groups to stay distanced. These tour guide systems can be either radio devices with a transmitter for the guide and receivers for each visitor, which is something Vox has done for years and years. This is our core business in some ways, or voice over Wi-Fi or voice transmitted through the airways, as it were, through units that enable the tour guide to communicate directly over Wi-Fi or other functionality to suitably distance guests through apps on their own smartphones. Now, self-guiding is going to be, as I've said, the bigger opportunity, really, because the most sophisticated digital apps will allow this multilingual audio guiding of hundreds of sites in venues and triggered by geotagged autoplay if they're stepping externally to some of your external areas that might be explored. The other big thing about digital is that it treads very lightly because it requires no separate or extra hardware. And that, of course, is a major aspect of cost in any investment that you're making. So digital doesn't have those costs. It reduces printed materials, the costs and the waste. It optimizes tourist flows. It reduces crowding at any point in your venue. It helps educate. It engages visitors with your venue, with your stakeholders, and importantly, with local people in the local environs as well. Now, how can Vox fit into all of this? I think pretty simply, really. The background to Vox is that we're the world's leading provider of voice and multimedia interpretation for tourism and culture. Our sister company in our group, Sycamore, is the world's third largest provider of interactive multimedia technology in institutions, managing some of the biggest destination or institutions that are recognized in the world, such as the Palace of Versailles, the Louvre. We've worked with Mont Saint Michel, the Palace of Benario. We've worked with the European government. I mean, we're working in all sorts of areas in this technology, but we also provide cutting-edge audio technology and tour guide systems with simultaneous translation kits and much more, and working with big tour operators as well, and institutions again such as St. Peter's Basilica in Rome and Chenonceau Castle and many more. We develop intelligent tourism management software for venues and for events businesses, and we build and supply smartphone applications and content, which is most relevant here, for business partners in all sorts of sectors, including culture and institutions. And above all, though, we focus on providing innovation for the future for our business partners. On the digital side, our core app that you might be interested in is Pop Guide. It's bespoke, it's designed for you, it has your branding, and it has very powerful functionality with a simple user interface. It's flexible and it allows you to communicate with your customers in any way, doing many of the things that we've discussed, including multilingual audio guiding and so on. It allows you to connect with visitors and you should think about it as an experience, not an app, really. We have a self-branded one, branded as Vox, which is B2B2C. It's got fixed content around venues, but it's something that can easily be used as an OTA item if you wanted to promote in that area. And then, of course, we can white label the apps as your own to give you the very best of a destination. When we look at the interior visit side of things, we've got beautifully compiled 3D simulated maps that are interactive for the visitor, that allows them to self-guide around a venue, getting an in-depth exploration not only of your venue but also famous city quarters as well, so it can apply in that sort of context. Seeing must-see masterpieces of famous cultural institutions and galleries. We're working already with lots of projects around the world, and it's really interesting to see how these can transform simple ticket sales into much higher value audio packages with great margins for you and for your business partners or your supplier partners. We also are able to manage push notifications. We can manage through WebView, which allows you to project all of this product through your own application, if that's the case. And of course, we can link the city with very sophisticated city mapping and points of interest, placing your venue at the heart as the home of their experience in their overall destination. Now, data is going to be vital. In the post-COVID period, data that you had previously is not going to be as relevant because patterns will change. And so we can provide intention analysis from in-app surveys that conducted within your venue. We can give you App Store data from Google and Apple that relates to the usage that people are making on their applications and the way they use their applications. And we've got granular data from interactivity in your destination, in your map, in your venue, about the choices that people made, of the preferences they had and the order that they did things. And then if people are using the same application externally in the city associated with your venue, then we can give you heat maps showing what people were doing around the destination, by language, by time, by areas visited, and so on. And of course, all of this is GDPR compliant. We gain no knowledge whatsoever of your customers' personal habits. How does all of this work? It's very simple. We issue you with QR codes. It can be one for an individual, it can be one for a cohort, or it can be one for your entire navigation of your venue. Simply, the user scans the QR code or clicks a link in an email with their phone. That then downloads the application, which then subsequently downloads the contents of that of your venue or the city. They then choose their language and they download for offline use or they download for online use. Either way, it's a very, very simple process and a very light download for them. How are we working at the moment? What are the new opportunities that are happening right now with Vox and our business partners in institutions, venues, galleries, and so on? Well, we're working on a lot of recovery packages where operators overseas are wanting to package your venue with flights, with accommodation in a very cost-effective way to kickstart. An audio package that's digital, added into your ticket price and packaged with operators is a fantastic way to drive initial interest. The second is working with other partners, bringing other institutions in, city passes and so on, bringing them in, adding audio very inexpensively to your venue, expanding language possibilities for guiding. Instead of having a local guide in the museum taking a group round in English or Spanish or whatever it might be, you can now expand this to multi-language so that they host a group of multilingual speakers going around a venue together. Banding together with other venues to create themes or passes is another possibility, using the audio and the navigation to link all the venues. New product creation that allows you to explore new types of exhibits, quickly adding other artifacts and other exhibits to your collections to change the way that this operates in the new environment. If you're a free museum, then being able to monetize, to earn extra funding from audio packages that can be available through digital, and creating unique or hybrid itineraries with physical guides and digital mixed in a hybrid opportunity. So lots of examples. Now, how can we work with you in this new environment? An environment when legislation is going to change also the way that you work, and also socially self-imposed distancing is going to change as well. Well, Vox is ready to invest our time, our funding, and our skills to create tailor-made digital and physical radio audio technology projects with you in the aim of helping you set new standards for post-COVID tourism. You'll have zero upfront investment. We want to invest in this, but all we would ask is that you work with us now on a project to be engaged 100% with the project by embracing the philosophy, including some of these digital experiences in every ticket or package that you sell for your venue, your institution, your museum, gallery, whatever it might be. And when tourism restarts and the project will be live, the cost for you is going to be marginal compared to the new business generated and the profits and funding that you're now able to achieve. And you'll have our assurance that no cost will be applied, and costs are inexpensive because this is digital, if the project doesn't bring the results that you expect. Okay, thank you for listening to me. I'm going to hand you over to our mini panel, and Andy, perhaps you'd like to kick us off with some of the questions that I know have been introduced in some of our bigger webinars around the world.
Many thanks, John, and thanks there for the presentation and the overview for us. We'll move quickly on, as John said, to the frequently asked sort of questions that we've received in our previous webinars. And kicking straight to you, Francesco. The question we always have is, how can we connect and start a project with you?
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, John. The easiest way to connect with us is actually dropping us a line at bizdev@voxtours.com, and then based on the language that you speak, based on the sector you belong to, one of our experts will get in touch with you, and we will study how to tailor a pop guide project based on your needs and on your customers' needs. So there isn't a real template for creating projects, but let's get in touch first. Let's understand which are your needs, and then let's work.
Francesco, also, how difficult is it to prepare a pop guide project, and how quickly can you have one up and running?
It's not difficult at all for you. Actually, we will do all the job, and let's say that at the most in 8 weeks, you can get your pop guide project done. It really depends on the number of languages, the number of points of interest you require, but let's say that at the most in 8 weeks, we can deliver that project, and we will do all the job. So for you, it's very, very easy.
Fantastic. Another popular question we get, what if I already have my own app? So what if I have an app that we're using already? How can we work with you then?
As John explained in the mini webinar session, I mean, we have recently developed the web app view functionality, which means that pop guide can be streamed into your app. And it doesn't require any difficult API, difficult IT integration. It's very, very easy. Just a matter of adding a link into your app or a button to your app that will stream all pop guide functionalities. If you instead would like to have two separate apps like Facebook and Messenger, or like EasyJet and the Wallet app, we can do that as well. We can create for you a white label version of pop guide, which means to create an app with your logo, with your colors, and your naming, and you can have your app that does marketing communication and this new app that does in-destination guiding. So it's really up to you. Everything in one place, it could be done. Two separate apps can be done as well.
Fantastic. And finally, and probably the most often asked question, no investment. Always sounds a little bit too good to be true. So is there any investment, or is it really a no investment offer?
It is really a no investment offer. I mean, of course, we are not anonymous, so we will need to get back our investment someday, but not in the first year. I mean, to begin with this project, we do not require from you any initial investment. What we ask you is just to engage with us and, let's say, share our digital philosophy, including one pop guide into all your services. And by doing that, we can guarantee that you will increase your market share, and you will increase actually the number of sales. So as soon as the project will kick in and you will see the first benefits of this project, then we will ask you a very marginal fee compared to which are your profits. So let's say initially no investment, Vox will invest in you, and when you will see that this project brings you the profits that we guarantee, then you're gonna share us a little fee out of those profits.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Francesco. Well, that brings to an end our brief Q&A session. But should you have any more questions, then of course, as we said, please email us on bizdev@voxtours.com or visit the website at voxtours.com as well. So it's a thank you from me, and it's a thank you from Francesco, and John, we'll hand you back to you.
Thank you, guys. I'd like to just end on this very last slide. There it is. I mentioned Sycamore at the beginning. Sycamore is our specialist division, which is all about interactive visits and advanced multimedia technology. State-of-the-art technology for guiding in all sorts of cultural venues, transforming any tour into a memorable experience. So think about us for that as well. This technology is very, very advanced, using beacon technology, infrared, and much more, including Li-Fi, which is on its way as well. There we are. Thank you so much. We wish you a very safe remainder of the week that you're in, and see you soon, I hope. Let's talk.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care.